Stacey, there are no words to introduce you because, wow, I don't know. It's difficult to speak because you take the audience's breath away. And if that is not your story yet, Mr. or Mrs. Audience, just wait, buckle in. This is about to be the show that you didn't know that you needed. Stacey, thank you for joining today. How is life?
Fantastic, Austin. Thank you for having me here today.
Of course, excited to have you on. All right, so this is going to be a short and punchy show, action packed, the most knowledge per minute, dare I say, in the aesthetics education space. If you are a beauty business owner, this is the show for you. If you're not, run away. This is probably not going to be as applicable to you, though it might be. So, in any case, we're going to talk today about the top 3 challenges facing beauty business owners today. Now, if you want the distilled TLDR version, we do have an article summarizing this on the artemis.co blog. However, we're going to get in deeper into the weeds and a bit more up close to what we believe is the truth for success in business today, and specifically in the beauty business today. So this is not going to be a show of a guru who is just selling you a course on how to get rich. Stacey's actually doing this, and she's doing it today. So if you want actionable insights and advice from someone who's actually in the trenches today, doing this herself, seeing success in her clients and in her own business with these boilerplate templates, if you will, then buckle in. And with that, let's go. So Stacey is the starting point. What are the top 3 challenges facing beauty business owners today? And we'll start by drilling into the first, but let's first orient the show to the 3 challenges. So what are those 3 challenges? Over to you.
Okay, so I would say number one, Austin, is everybody is a prospect. Potentially, everybody could be your customer. It's actually true, right? I mean, our spa business owners, their wellness business, everybody is either in search of self-improvement, improving anti-aging techniques. And so technically it's factual. Everyone potentially could be your customer. And once you open up a business, and if you do those things that target everyone, you will find yourself feeling somewhat salesy, somewhat exhausted, and probably not making enough money to cover your time. Number 2, common mistake or challenge number 2, price war. There's so much competition out there, and you are tempted to just compete. We probably got into this as an entrepreneur because you are competitive, because you saw an opportunity, and then you get into this quote, quote, business, and you're ready with boxing gloves to just be number one. You forget the only game or the only fight you're in is with yourself from yesterday. So cutting your price to match or beat your competition is very tempting, and it rears its ugly head at every cycle of your business, and you have to just recognize the beast and stay above. Okay, I would say the most common and the most challenging, and the mistake that needs to be revisited often, but often is not, is overpaying or underpaying your staff. What that means is, I see the spectrums of, well, I'm going to pay my providers who do fantastic service X dollars per hour or X dollars per treatment. And that's a one size fits all. And then I see the other spectrum where they're like, I'm so wonderful in my business. Everybody should come work for me. I have this higher level of expectation. I'm going to just pay everybody higher than my competition. And they overpay their staff. And then they just leave it on autopilot. Like they've decided this is the template for paying their staff when they open the business, and they just don't revisit it. The business evolved. It used to be maybe half a dozen employees, and over time, 6 months, 18 months, 5 years down the road, now they're a totally different business model with completely different skill sets of staff, and quite honestly, different business needs from their staff. And yet they're still paying them on 20-year-old compensation when they were just a business that was in inception phase. What do you think, Austin? Are those things that you see?
It sounds like a bullseye to me. Let's go up to the top. The first one here, which again, so to distill and re-summarize, here are the 3 biggest challenges. Number 1, everyone is a prospect. Your customer targeting is too broad. You're trying to be all things and everything to everyone and all things. Oopsies, don't do that. We'll unpack why that is in a moment. Number 2 is price war, cutting your price to match or beat your competition. And lastly, number 3, overpaying or underpaying your staff. One thing stood out, if we go into number one and drill into that, is that you said you sound salesy if we're trying to be all things to all things, or everyone to everyone, let's say. Why do we sound salesy when we try to target everyone?
Great question, Austin. So I would say that if you start out your business with potentially, let's say you're offering anti-aging cryoskin facials, right? I mean, technically, when I ask my clients, who do you think this is for? They literally say, well, I'm 48 years old and I'm a mom of three, but this is for everyone. And people just go, yeah, everyone should get it, right? So you go out there on social media and you're like, hey, everyone, if you have skin, you should have this. And then people with skin call you and they call you with these objections from all demographics because they're not ready to buy what you're offering. They just are not. They don't have the problem that you solve. And by targeting your customer base, you're really getting super laser focused on the problem you solve, getting intimate with that problem, and the folks that want your solution resonate with that problem. So when you say everybody is potentially a prospect, it's factual. It is, just not today. Start small, start targeted, and when you nail it, you can add other segments rather than just saying everybody.
Reminds me of this concept of tribal social proof. So oftentimes we'll think, oh, hey, we have this account and it's a hotel and they're amazing. But the person you're talking to, let's say, is running a soccer mom association. The story of this big success with the director of a hotel that's a different age group, a completely different demographic, is not going to have the same resonance as it would with the soccer mom who's wanting to hear a success story from a soccer mom in a soccer mom association, who's in the same age, same demographic, same socioeconomic class, and the rest of it. Is that a part of this as well? So if so, it almost seems two-part question. If so, it almost seems like you should begin with identifying who you are, solve your own problem. Because is it not the case? Oh my God, I'm on the third question here. One question. Is it not the case that oftentimes when business owners, and let's actually start with this question, is it not the case that when business owners bolt on a cryoskin, they're drawn to it because they're trying to solve their own problem? Is that an observation that you've seen?
100%.
Okay.
Their problem resonates a little differently, right? So it does solve a problem of theirs, but they need to get kind of intimate with that problem.
Exactly. So it seems like the best starting point is to start by solving your own problem, get a really tight-knit story around that. Hey, I was just like you, 43 years old. I was a soccer mom, 5 kids. I was busy working 3 jobs. My life was in shambles, whatever the story is. I found cryoskin to reduce my waistline circumference and this, and it did this. And then when you share that with others in the same exact bucket, it seems like that will be an infectious story that leads to high conversion of the high ticket services that you sell. Is that how I should be thinking about that, or am I a light year off?
Absolutely. So if you can't, so exactly what you said, right? So so when I work with cryoskin business owners, they're usually, I would say they find us because they're in the trenches of providing services, and they see the opportunity of this non-invasive body contouring business exploding. Everyone around them wants that, right? So they see the natural, obvious thing, which is, hey, if I'm a spa owner and I offer facials or massage for $100 to $150 an hour, I could also offer a body treatment that's $350 an hour, and potentially that client should come to me weekly.
Yeah.
So they see that opportunity, but sometimes what they forget is they need to actually go through the process. They need to be a client. They need to actually see, is this really for them? Yeah. They need to put themselves in their client's role. And I see when I'm coaching businesses, they have that idea and they just want to fast track the outcome, right? So instead, they should go the route that they are going to advocate later. And if you're a business owner and you offer these services and technically you work here and they're technically free, Should you not consume your own services so therefore you can be an advocate that's truly believable? You have these resources. And so if, and this is something I advocate to my coaching clients. If it's not going to be you, Austin, CEO of Body Cryoskin Spa in Austin, Texas, then it should be somebody at your business. Somebody needs to be a super fan or an advocate so they can be emotionally connected to their audience. It's much more believable, and it's a lot easier to sell a $3,000 package to a prospect if you're aligning with them. It's going to be very hard, Austin, CEO of this Austin Cryoskin business in Texas, if you're distant from it. So put somebody in charge of that. Make it everyone's job to get super intimate with the solution and the experience, so that way they can advocate it.
Yeah, and it seems like there's perhaps a metaphor of, or an analogy of mountaineering. The guy's advice you don't want to take is the guy that's read all the books about mountaineering, and he's an expert in reading books on mountaineering, but he's never summited the mountain of which you are wanting to summit, and have him hired as a mountaineering guide. You want the guy, maybe he's never read a book in his life, but he's hiked this mountain 100 times. He knows it in and out. He knows where all the crevasses are, where the death traps are, where the death zone starts, and the rest of it. That's the guy you want to hire. And when he talks, he's going to be very clearly the expert. And that's the guy that you should strive to become, so that when you share the stories, it's going to resonate and land. And so to me, that seems like the danger in trying to be all things to everyone, is that you haven't solved the problem of the 55-year-old CMO that's burned out at his job, has no time, and he's maybe got no kids, and he's a hockey fan. Tell me if I'm wrong again. Let's say I'm an audience member and I'm lost. I'm like, hey, I'm really struggling to figure out who is my audience. Is there advice that you would give them to identify and drill into who it should be that they are targeting as an ideal customer? Any insights or heuristics on how they can formulate their ICP?
I would start with what they thought. So if they saw this vision, I would just put a stake in the ground and say, hey, I am going to target 50-year-old men who are athletic and outdoorsy, and figure it out and ask them questions, and then watch their journey. And do this super quick, because you're investing in this business. So invite this target audience that you naturally are drawn to, and follow them. And what you'll find is that, although I might be like that audience, it's not potentially the audience out here. And so what I find is, let's use that example of the 50-year-old, outdoorsy person. They might be drawn to this, but when I talk to them about the services and the treatment and who they would want, they envision would do this, it usually comes to my sister, my mom, my friend who is in the spa business. It really does it will find its way to the larger opportunity, which is the aging market, right? People that are on the cusp, they're looking at themselves 10 years older, and they're like, I don't want to be that person. So although you might start, I do believe you should start with where you just put a stake in the ground and say, I'm going to start somewhere, and then grow from there. What I find that most business owners do is they want to follow Austin's plan. They're like, oh, well, I might be this business model, but I'm going to go right for this. They have no reason to be in this market. Go hire somebody. Go advocate, go find an advocate to understand this area. That way you can be super knowledgeable about that target audience. And then you have a super fan or an advocate that can access that demographic or that target audience.
Stacey, that all sounds great, but what if I'm still stuck on, I've got all these stakes and I have so much ground. Which stake do I put in the ground? I can't even choose. I can't even decide. Is there a simple framework or way of overcoming that initial inertia? Because I'm sure there's people in the audience today that are saying, hey, I'm guilty. I'm trying to target everybody. My Facebook ads aren't converting because I'm using generic messaging and I'm having no-show rates galore. I don't even know where to start. I'm bought in. I want to choose where to stake one stake in the ground, but God, I can't choose. What advice would you give them?
So for the non-invasive body contouring, which is the market that we're in, I would start with the people that don't want invasive services. Find out who they are in your area. So in your area, it might be like it is in my area. It's women between 40 and 60 who are dabbling with Botox and filler, and they're thinking about liposuction, and they're just becoming empty nesters. And that is my area, right? Because that's the demographic that I live in, and that is my viewpoint, and I've chosen to go that route. I would say that's probably an easy way to start if you're in the non-invasive body contouring, and the opposite. Think of your enemy. The opposite is invasive body contouring, and the enemy is looking old or tired or just being dependent on procedures that you don't want. I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm just saying that if you're in this segment, those are your avoidant market.
Stacey, I'm having a hard time buying this idea that you are in the same camp as the empty nesters, because last I checked, and I'm running the math here on my clock, you're still 29, is it?
29. I'm 48, and I have my oldest is a junior in high school. So yeah, my firstborn is about to go to college in probably 2 years. So yeah, that is the demographic that I'm looking at. Just crazy. Weren't my kids like toddlers when I met you?
That's amazing. Yeah, it seems to me that if you're truly stuck, I don't know who to pick. I don't know who my ideal customer is. Just write about yourself. I am a 34-year-old male. I am a possessor of a glorious widow's peak that makes me look like I'm 90. And I'm half fit, whatever. Describe who you are, and then go find more of yourself and serve them, because you know their story, because you know your own story. And it seems like if you're just paralyzed, can't get stuck, you got Botox all over you, meaning you're paralyzed, and you can't figure it out. Just go find more of yourself, solve your own problem. And oh, by the way, it seems to me like the cultivation of your own personal monopoly, the intersection of your interest, who you are, your own personality, and the service you offer, that intersection there is how you codify a moat around yourself and the competition, to where there could be 30 of the same providers, the same product, but they will never be able to compete on your personal monopoly, because no one can do what you do, because that tincture, who you are, your passions, and the services you are, that little blend of personality makes you unbeatable, at least in theory. I don't know if you have
Austin, I think we should explore what you just said, which is so different than what a lot of the prospects that we both deal with. So you said, look at yourself and be super self-aware of how you're in your own problem and you see the solution. So you and I both know that when we get on a call with prospects, you're selling non-invasive body devices. I'm selling treatments to solve these problems, and coaching services to help businesses make more money in their desired business segment. The thing that both of us are challenged with is our prospects generally don't want to look at themselves. They want to see themselves in the future, but you can't get there if you don't look at where you're starting, because everybody's journey forward is different based on their baseline. And when I'm working with prospects in high ticket launch coaching, it really is understanding what your fundamental position is in your current business. What are your current strengths that you're like hitting all cylinders on? And that usually is very small. And then how can we make that larger and a more valuable asset within your business? Most people want to fast track to success, but what they don't want is fix where they are. And that leads to a very quick failure, because you and I have you and I as entrepreneurs have total different resource needs. We have different business needs. We have different visions. And my journey will start from my actual where I currently am. It doesn't start where you are. So when I get on a call with prospects for coaching services, I ask them, what are you currently doing? And what are your current results? And what do you want as your results? It's not always money. It's usually a milestone in their business. It's a milestone in their lifestyle. And it is literally a deep look at around them. Okay. So I am currently in a state of A, B, and C. Some cases, it's not even debt. It's just exhaustion, fatigue, don't want to move forward, can't revisit. I can't get back to that new energy I used to have. And the businesses that are willing to take a look in the mirror and have some self-awareness of where they currently are in their journey, those businesses are going to make major changes and improvements. The ones that are just looking at goals, I can't coach them on that goal if we don't know where they're starting.
Yeah, fair point. Well, this reminds me of the paradox of success, which you can encapsulate in 4 phases. Now, this is speaking to purpose, but purpose is, I think, synonymous with flag staking, let's say, where you plant your flag in the ground. This is who I serve. This is my customer base. This is who I'm niching down to target. And I think you'll see the overlap. So here are the 4 phases briefly, and then we'll move on to the second point here and unpack that. So the first phase is when we really have clarity of purpose, or who our ICP is, it leads to success. Phase 2 is when we have success, it leads to more options and more opportunities or more customer types to serve. Phase 3, when we have an increased option set of people to serve and opportunities of people to serve, it leads to diffused efforts. And then finally, phase 4 is diffused efforts undermine the very clarity that led to our success in the first place. So in a sentence, success is a catalyst for failure.
True.
Yeah.
People are so afraid to fail. They're not willing to make progress because they already see their failure. I tell people when I'm coaching them, I'm like, all right, so if your limiter to your success is your own personal growth, because you can't either say no, because you are a people pleaser and you're inviting the entire world into your demographic and your business, and now you don't know how to handle 20 to 80-year-old human beings with 2 arms and 2 legs that have skin. So you just have to just start with a stake in the ground and just be very super vigilant about where you're going.
That's completely fair. I could not agree more. Well, okay, the last note on that, and then let's move on. Is there anything to be said about this this idea of exclusivity? Meaning, listen, we only work with people that look like XYZ or do XYZ or are XYZ. And we do that because we can best serve them. We can preserve our personality. We can preserve our ABC. Is there something about that leading to an increase in success as well by staying laser focused at the cost of exclusivity to certain potential customers? Is there anything there as well?
Bullseye. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So I would say that is the destination of really focusing your segment audience. So let's say Austin, you 35-year-old man who is on Zoom, has to look good for his career, comes to me as a client, right? Hey, Stacey, my girlfriend, my colleague told me about this. When you come to me, I will tell you, I'm recommending A, B, and C treatment. By the way, you're not my typical audience because my audience usually looks like this. The reason I do that is because you might have saw yourself in my offer, but when you leave me, you're going to go find me people I could serve better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking of different nightclubs and what have you, where they have a very strict dress code. You do not get in unless you're suited up and you look sharp or whatever the dress code might be, and they will not let you in otherwise. And that increases the desire to be in there. So I think it's worth people having a look at that and thinking about how they can weave that into their consultation phase or what have you.
If you're a prospect, Austin, and haven't paid, I would tell you this is exclusive for this type of client. This is exclusive for a client who is committed to their change because they have these problems, and you're not fitting, right? You're not fitting. If you're a client and you came to my door and you said, look, I know I'm not your current client base, but I want what you offer, I would say I would treat you, but I'm not going to discount this. You might actually pay more because I'm not sure that you're the right client that I could best serve. And you're probably going to be a little bit more exhausting in resources because I typically have my entire experience catered to this. Mm-hmm. What I find people do is if you're not the right client prospect, if that profile came to me, they don't appreciate my value, right? Because you're looking for a different experience. And so as a provider, the big mistake, and this gets back to everyone's a client or everyone's a prospect, is when you don't match my profile, you don't value it. And therefore I'm like coming back to you like, hey, Austin, please come to my spa. I know it's a $3,000 offer for women over 40 that are avoiding plastic surgery, but you want to come here. Let me give you a discount of 50% just so you'll come. That's the temptation that people fall guilty of.
I see. And that actually bleeds directly into the next point, which is the price war and cutting your price to match or beat your competition, which to me seems like it's rooted, tell me if I'm wrong, in something like scarcity thinking. There aren't enough clients that are in my exact bullseye win zone ICP wise. So it's rooted in fear, it's rooted in scarcity and not abundant thinking. Am I close?
You are right on the money. So when you start a new business, you are scarce. There is a bit of fear because you invested all this energy. You're a little vulnerable about your dream not coming to true fast enough. And then you see, a warm body with skin, and you're like, hey, come to my spa. I will give you this amazing experience for less because I don't want you to go across the street. And I actually encourage my clients. They will come to me and literally say these words, Austin. I saw a sign at A, B, and C spa around the corner. You offer the same thing? Their price is 15, 20% less. And I will coach this as well. And I actually execute this. I think that's a fantastic place for what they're offering. And if that's the experience you want, go. I can assure you, this is this experience that my staff and my community that I've chosen for this clientele is worth 20% more. And you just watch them leave, or watch them just go, so something is here is worth more money. Yes, it is. Because you know what? If I'm not going to lose you today because you're thinking to go there, I will definitely lose you on appointment 2, 3, or 10, and you're going to cause me lots of problems later. So I had an open house, and during the open house, some of my friends were saying, oh, there's this big franchise. They offer this product. And I'm like, yes. And some of my friends were like, Stacey, you probably don't want to say that franchise offers this. And I'm like, no, I'm actually pretty proud. I'm pretty proud that now everybody cares about their body, and that treating yourself to self-care in a non-invasive way has become a standard practice, because 4 years ago, it was kind of a taboo. So if that's the experience that you want, feel free to go there. If you have that confidence, people are kind of afraid to leave.
It reminds me of rule number 1 of deal making, which is never be what?
Desperate.
Yep. Never be needy. Never be needy. So then that begs the question, well, how then do I differentiate and position myself such that I am the only horse in town doing X, Y, Z? It seems like it all comes back to identifying your ICP, who you are, your personal flavor, your disdain for using the logos like corporate Memphis, which is a bland, personality-less, drab, appealing to everyone type of logo. You might have seen this with Facebook or Goodreads or Hinge or whatever. Their logos are all the same. There's no differentiation. It's very boring. Trying to appeal to everyone. And as a result, no one's like, oh, that's me. It's everyone looking at that saying, but that doesn't resonate with me. So how do I actually differentiate? Is there any other, or is that the actual answer to then rid yourself of the price war? So maybe the question here, let me put this in the form of a question. How do I avoid a price war? Tell me how to avoid a price war.
You don't talk about price. Talk about the problem. How much is that problem worth? What was the alternatives to solving that problem? You have gone from $100 an hour treatment to a $10,000 problem. You know what I'm saying? So people will come and say, hey, Stacey, I want to come do your cryoskin treatment. I price shop this, and it's about $250 to $300 an hour. I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually a $3,000. It's $2,750 per client. You're going to be committed to coming here weekly for the next 2.5 months. If these are the types of problems my clients are coming that they're ready to solve. I actually don't even say the word cryoskin. I don't even say that it's an hour treatment where you're going to lose probably 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches. I get super emotional about their problems. So I say, this is what the problems that I solve. They're generally worth a $10,000 solution, because the clients that I'm treating are avoiding this. They're not looking for a quick fix. They're looking to commit to a problem that they see the outcome is being terrible. And that terrible outcome to them is is not even a $10,000 plastic surgery. Austin, their problems are, I just want to feel not insecure when I'm sitting at the beach on the vacation in Turks and Caicos with my family who has come together for a reunion. My problem is, I'm so busy at work that I don't have time to, watch what I eat and to make meals for my children while juggling a job. And I just need maybe a quicker solution. And to them, an hour a weekly investment with us at my location is life-changing for them. So if you're talking about price, you're going to end up in a price war. Talk about how painful and how ready are they to solve their specific problem.
I think you just said something that if people are willing to do the labor of integrating this into their brain, will forever change the direction of their business. Here's what you said. I get emotional about their problem. Wow. How do I do that?
You ask them. And you ask them what is their current situation? What other solutions have they looked for? How difficult is this problem? How does this impact their life? If you just leave it superficial, like, hey, I'm fat and tired, I want a quick solution to be able to buckle my pants, you've now carved a slice across 1,500 business owners that could solve that small little problem. But as soon as I open up that problem and they're now telling me that they're embarrassed because they're stressed or they're exhausted or they wish they had time. Once you unpack the impact and the weight of the problem, they've just opened up to you and now they trust you. And if you then have clients like them, Austin, and if you've now treated 5 other people like that, you're able to quote, quote, name drop without a name with credibility. So my last 3 clients had a similar concern, and this is what they found. I'm not making this up because you know what? I literally will say no to the people that come in this small little, I'm looking for an inch loss. I'm looking for an inch loss. Who can get me the best bit? Then these clients want your experience and they're willing to go deep with your investment and serve that client. So how do you differentiate yourself is your question. So once you understand those clients' needs and they're coming to you weekly, now you're able to offer them. You have weekly touch points. How's it going? How did anybody give you feedback? How does it feel? How was the impact of your life in the last 6 days of solving this concern? You're going to do amazing. Can you envision what it's going to be like when you're sitting at your daughter's competition in Florida and you're rocking your amazing knees that we're working on in those mom suit? It's whatever vision they gave you, whatever problem it was, go right back to it.
Sounds like the real skill to develop here with your staff, whoever's doing your consultations and the like, is this art of, let's say, onion peeling. So they come in, hey, I'm just sick of being fat and tired. Oh, goody. This is how most people respond. Oh, goody. We have a solution for you. It'll be $1,500. Instead of pausing and saying something, I'm guessing here, something to the effect of, well, I can't imagine that's causing issues elsewhere in your life, is it? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. My husband, he doesn't want to cuddle anymore because he thinks I'm gross. And it just really hurts my sense of self, my self-image. Wow. Well, how would you like to feel? Right. So what I'm illustrating here is that it seems as if the need is to really pause, go slow. Right? There's this expression from the military that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And so is that what we're advocating for, is really taking the time to get into, okay, what does it mean to you when you say I'm sick of being fat and tired? What does that mean? What does it feel like to feel like that?
Yes. Peel the layers of the onion, Austin. So the way you and I would coach on it would sound exactly like the way you said, a slightly generic. So coaching somebody on it like is challenging because to us, you and I, right, we're both like marketing and sales professionals. We understand what that means. But to coach somebody who's a provider that is super attached to being like an expert. They don't want to put themselves in this situation like you and I are, of like peeling the onion layer, another layer. And so the way I coach my staff on that is just align with what they said and ask them why or how. So that way you can literally just say, so you're saying is that you're feeling bloated, fat, and tired, and how does that make you feel, or how is that impacting your life, or what, tell me more. Then I just tell them, just ask them to elaborate. Literally just kind of like my children's English homework is always reiterate the statement and then ask the question, answer the question, or ask the question with the answer and vice versa. And just literally repeat what they said and just ask how or, why. And you get it seems pretty sincere. They feel like they're being heard. And their really insecure feeling is now validated because you said it again.
Yeah, it seems like you don't want to assume that you understand the emotion, the feeling behind it. Instead, ask them to express, what is the feeling? How is it impacting your life? And get curious. Maybe the heuristic is be curious and don't assume their inner workings, and instead probe into that. All right. Any other notes that you would add to the price war bit, or shall we move to the third and final challenge facing business owners today?
No, we are good. Let's move.
Bam. Overpaying and underpaying staff. Talk to me. How do we solve this problem? Over to you.
So paying your staff is really a status, to be honest. Like I've seen business providers say, well, everyone should be fortunate to work here. I'm providing all this overhead and I'm doing all this lead generation. I'm going to pay you X dollars per hour, or X dollars per treatment. And they forget that compensation financially is only one way of making clients or making your staff feel appreciated or motivated or engaged, right? So there's more than just, you have more tools to compensate your staff beyond just hourly pay. The other, if you were to swing the other direction is, business owners that are saying, well, you know what, I'm going to just hijack this whole pay scale and I'm going to hire the best and the best. And I realize it takes a lot of money to get the best talent. So I'm going to just buy them by paying them more. And then they never really look and see, are they performing? Is their pay tied to their outcomes? Has the job changed?
I see. Yeah. And apologies, my camera has overheated and is now dead. So we are audio only on my end. Apologies for that, viewers. So are there any, Stacey, maybe you can give us 3 actionable takeaways. Okay, how do I solve this? You've alluded to some of them, but are there perhaps three ways in which we can reassess and evaluate exactly what to do to ensure that we're on the bullseye for the compensation for our staff?
Yeah. So first, think about what functions you want them to do. So, and realize this will change. What are your needs right now? Then look at the traits, not just the skills, the traits of the people you're going to be hiring, and attract traits, because you can train skill. And you want long-lasting, coachable skills or traits, right? So you think about what you need them to do, then think about the how you're going to pay them, and then ask the candidates or your staff what is meaningful to them. So like I just said, paying the actual financial payment is only one variable. Nowadays, people are considering so many different compensation types, right? So how much I'm getting paid is only a part of the picture. How often I get paid, how much recognition do I get, what is the chance for development, how am I going to learn in my longer term goal of potentially being somewhere else in 10 years? How is this experience going to get me there in terms of my own learning? Will I enjoy my day-to-day? And what other ways can I be paid? So, it could be just time off. It could be variable working hours. It could be virtual, a mix of virtual and in person. So there's so many levers as a business owner or employer that you can employ, but people forget to exercise them. They literally just will say, I want this type of certification, I want this type of skills, and I'm going to pay A, B, and C. Well, those are really objective, and people are People are human. And they're going to probably come to you for those objective measures, but they'll leave you because you didn't align with whatever their emotional or their developmental needs are.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like the real elements or set of elements to be sensitive to are the intangibles, because it's never just about the money. It's about the learning, the autonomy, the flexibility, the career path progression, and the rest of it. That all makes sense. That's amazing. That is amazing. So, Stacey, I want to be sensitive to our time agreement here and get you out back to the trenches, so to speak, where you serve, I don't know, millions of beauty business owners across the planet. So let's do this in closing. I want to make sure that the audience knows how to connect with you and who is the perfect type of client to work with the high ticket launch coach, Stacey Krizan. So who is your perfect client, number one? And then number two, how can they find and connect with you?
Thank you, Austin. So I being true to exactly what we both believe in and coach, not every single person is a potential prospect for me and my services. So to be super transparent, I'm only coaching business owners that are in the wellness or beauty entrepreneurship. And they're looking to go from, point A to point B with a higher ticket service, such as cryoskin. So, I would say a disclaimer, if you're not interested in putting in the work and you don't have the desire to be self-reflective of your needs and your skills, we probably are not a fit. How you can reach me, you can search me on LinkedIn, Stacey Krizan. You can look me up on highticketlaunchcoach.com or just shoot me an email. I like to start with the end in mind. So my email is freedom@highticketlaunchcoach.com. And the reason freedom is because, when you start a business, you're probably starting and hustling your business with some endpoint in mind. And I want to know what that endpoint is so we can coach to it. It's usually time or financial freedom. And I'd like to know what that looks like. So shoot me an email at freedom@highticketlaunchcoach, and we can go from there.
Amazing. And for any skeptics out there on whether Stacey or not is the real deal and not just a guru, we'll let her 5-star, and by 5-star, I mean 40 5-star reviews on Google speak to whether or not Stacey is the real deal. She has my stamp of approval. If that's worth anything, it may not be, depending on who you are. I think she's amazing. She is, like I said before we hit the record button today, she is a miracle on 2 legs. She's amazing. And wow. Connect with her, reach out. You won't regret it. And Stacey, thanks for being on today. We are glad we can make this happen.
Thank you so much, Austin.
Awesome. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.